shares of Yeti. You just saw those shares up on the screen a moment ago here, as this is following the announcement of its Chief Financial Officer, Paul Carbone, resigning effective October 28th. Noting Mr. Carbone will be returning to Boston to pursue a business opportunity that's going to allow him to be closer to his family. This just kind of in the slate of executive changeovers. Also, DocuSign, they named their former Google executive, Alan Thygesen, as its new chief executive officer. Alan is set to assume this position effective October 10th, along with a role on DocuSign's board of directors here.
Okay, well, let's talk about DocuSign first, and then let's talk about Yeti a little bit more. DocuSign, really interesting here because we know Dan Springer, who friend of the show, when he was in that position there at DocuSign, really struggled post-pandemic. He kept trying to sort of tweak the sales pitch for the company, the sales force, how they were approaching sales, and it never quite gelled, at least not this year, after that huge growth during the pandemic. So there was an interim CEO there, Maggie Wilderotter, who was on the board, and they were doing this search. And now it looked like initially there was a positive reaction here to the new CEO. It's gone away a little bit, but definitely he has a good pedigree and background in terms of his history at Google.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting because we had also seen former executives at DocuSign have much of this marketing background. I think Dan Springer also had a lot of the marketing background that he brought to the table. So really kind of going further in line with that, Alan is now going to bring to the table that Google kind of global marketing background that he did have as well. And really for DocuSign as a business, there was so much of the pull forward in demand over the course of the pandemic, less of the physical documents that have needed to be signed in person during that period in time. And for large part, there's not going to be a ton of the physical signed documents that perhaps need to come back. Everybody has matriculated over to a DocuSign or an Adobe solution. And so now it really comes down to where DocuSign is able to sell into. They've already got this partnership with Microsoft that they announced earlier on this year. We'll see if that adds any net new clients to their portfolio as well, as you're able to tap into some of those new Microsoft constituents. And then it's really where the plugins are going to be. And I think that's where they need to have those partnerships. And that's perhaps where Alan Thygesen is also going to kind of layer in that approach over at the executive team and the strategy team over at DocuSign too.
We got to call them and figure out how to say his name. That's our.
Thygesen? Did I say it wrong?
I don't know.
I believe that was right.
Okay, Thygesen.
Yeah.
I said it wrong then. Okay. Anyway, let's talk about Yeti for just another second here. Carbone, there, I think we've got it under
Yeah, we got
control.
that one.
What's interesting here is the stock is sliding. It's already down some 60% year to date. You know, Yeti has been a public company longer than I realized. It actually came public back in 2018. He helped with that process. The IPO price was $18. So it's still trading well above that, even with this 60% slide this year. But just like we've been wondering with everything else, this is something that surged during the pandemic. A lot of people bought these sort of luxury coolers, right? They had money to spend. They were spending time outside. Then we have seen that wane. And now, as we are potentially going into a recession, are you going to buy, you know, the Yeti, or are you going to buy something on the lower end? Or are you not going to buy, you know, once you bought it, you don't need to buy another one? I don't know. But the point is, there's been some concern about the outlook. And even though he's talking about resigning for personal reasons, the market is using this as a reason to continue to sell the stock. You know,
this is a good Austin, Texas company, Yeti is, and I've been to their mainstay in Austin, and I mean, they've just got a great kind of brand ethos that they're able to push forward with the outdoors annexation, of course, and the durability of the product. And I guess that's also part of the issue too. When you have a product that is as durable as the Yeti coolers, you start to get into the replenishment rate conversation. How often is a consumer going to go back and voluntarily purchase a Yeti mug or a Yeti cooler, especially if it is so durable and it lasts for so long as well? That's a larger issue, perhaps. But again, that just speaks to the quality of the product. That's great, but it can also be a gift and a curse, perhaps, in some instances,
maybe so,
as we had seen in Lululemon's case for many years too.